Welcome, my dear students. I hope everyone is doing well. Before starting this session, let me first introduce myself. My name is Mansi Gupta and I have completed my graduation in life sciences. I have teaching experience of more than 4 years and I have mentored over thousands of lovely students like you all. Initially, when I started teaching, I wanted to earn some money so that I could buy the art supplies as I am an art enthusiast. But gradually, I started taking this profession very seriously and I also started enjoying it. Teaching taught me a lot. It boosted up my confidence and also improved my communication skills. For now, all I need is love and support of my lovely students. So on that note, let's start today's session, and in today's session we are going to study about cell, the fundamental unit of life. In today's session, cell, discovery of cell, organism showing variety in numbers, in shapes and different sizes, and then in later parts, cell structure and the parts of a cell. Yes, parts of a cell. An entity we aren't able to see. It also have its own parts. So, cell, a fundamental structure. Fundamental structure means the basic structure, and functional unit. Functional unit means it is capable of performing its own functions, different life processes. For example, digestion, excretion, respiration. So a cell is able to perform these all individually. So it is a functional unit also of living organism. Now, if we take a building or a bungalow, what we need, the basic thing we need is the brick. Similarly, the building is analogous to our body. So, when we want to build a body, we need cell. So, that brick is analogous to cell. Here, cell may be compared to bricks that are assembled to make buildings. Similarly, cells are assembled to make body of every organism, the basic entity. Here is a diagram of a brick wall, and this is the microscopic view of the onion peel. Now, discovery of the cell, how the cell was discovered. Before that, let me tell you the difference between discovery and invention. Discovery is something where the thing already exists, but we got to know about it after studying it or in the later time. But in invention, that thing is made by us or the new thing is developed by us. So, Robert Hooke in 1965 observed the slices of cork under a simple magnifying glass. At that time, microscopes were not that advanced. Cork, what is cork actually? Cork is the part of the bark, the tree bark, the outer part. Observed very thin. He observed very thin slices. Why? Because the cell is the very small unit. So if we take the very thick variety or the thick slice, it won't be easy for the scientist to observe the things clearly. And when he observed that thin slices, he observed the boxes of honeycomb-like shape. But the magic was that these boxes were empty inside. These were empty boxes or empty rooms. And in the initial part, I discussed that a cell has the parts, but this doesn't have any parts. We know later why. And the answer is that these cells were dead. Yes, the cork is the dead part of the tree. The bark is the dead part of the bark. That's why there were no organelles or organs of the cells present in this microscopic picture, microscopic view. But what is this membrane? We study about it in the later lecture. The membrane is known as the cell wall. Now, organisms show variety in their cell number, in their cell shape, in their cell structure. So, the number we have in unicellular, the cell can be one also, single in number. Uni means one, cellular means cell. The cell The single cell organisms are called unicellular organisms. Single cell organisms perform all the necessary functions, for example, digestions, respirations, excretions, reproductions, growth and development. So, I told you that a cell is responsible for performing all the necessary functions by itself individually, and those cells are known as unicellular, and the organisms that are performing those kinds of functions are known as unicellular organisms. For example, amoeba, paramecium, bacteria. This is the diagrammatic view of amoeba. This is the microscopic view of amoeba when we observe amoeba under microscope. This is the paramecium, diagrammatic view of paramecium, and this is the microscopic view of paramecium. And you can observe different parts of the cell in this organism. We'll study about them in later lecture. Organisms show variety in cell of number. Yes, we studied that. Unicellular organisms, and now we're going to study about multicellular, means many, a body, an organism with many cells. Like us, like humans, we have trillions and trillions of cells in our body. So multi means many, cellular means cell. The multicell or an organism containing more than one cell is known as multicellular organism. In multicellular organisms, functions are carried out by groups of specialized cells forming different tissues, and tissues in turn forming organs. This is a very important concept. Now, when there is a collection of cells performing or aiming for similar function, they form the tissue. So, there are different cells and they are aiming for similar kind of function. They will form a tissue, and other similar cells aiming for same function, they'll form a tissue, and these both tissues are aiming for similar function, they'll form an organ. So, first the cells are aggregated forming the tissue, then these tissues forming the organ, and then these organs form the organ system. For example, very famous system, that is digestive system. In digestive system, we need the buccal cavity, later the gut, the esophagus, after that the stomach, then intestines, large intestines, anus, and many other organs. So these different kinds of organs forms the digestive system, the organ system. I hope you understood it. So cells form tissues, then tissues form organ, and then organ forms organ system. Now, organisms which show multicellularity are known as plants, animals, fungi, but there is an exception. Yeast is an unicellular fungi. Now, organisms show variety in cell shapes. The shape of the cell vary according to the functions the cell performs. For example, cells can be round, cells can be spherical, cells can be elongated, and some cells even have long and pointed at both the ends. These are the muscle cells, smooth muscle cells. Some cells are long and branched like nerve cells. So let me draw the diagram of a nerve cell. It has its dendrites. These are the branches of this cell. This is the axon part, and these are the dendrites, the branches of the cell. So in this body, these are the neurons, the brain cells, the liver cells, muscle cells, RBCs, red blood cells, and these are the intestinal cells. Some cells also have these special cilia where the motion is required, where the cells are responsible for the motion. Now we'll study about parts responsible for the shape of the cell. There is a part, a dedicated part, so that the cell have a definite shape, because The cell has the fluid part, cytoplasm part. So we have to give it a membrane to hold it, and then membrane is known as the cell membrane. So every cell have its cell membrane, but plant cells and bacterial cells have an additional covering, additional facility of cell wall. And why it is required? Because cell has to perform the turgor pressure, or they have to experience the osmotic stress. So that to maintain that stress, to maintain the osmolarity of the water, they need cell wall. Now, organisms show variety in cell size also. The size of the cell in the living organism may be as small as the millionth means 10 to the power minus 6 meter, or the micrometer. This is the sign of micrometer, or as large as few centimeters. Okay. Most of the cells are microscopic. Microscopic means they are only visible when we observe them under microscope in size, and are not viable under unaided eye. Unaided eye as in they aren't visible without the help of microscope. The smallest cell is 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer in bacteria, and this cell is known as mycoplasma. It does not have cell wall. The largest cell measuring is the egg of an ostrich. This is the egg of an ostrich, and this is the picture of smallest cell, that is mycoplasma. The cells of the cell is related to its function. Again, as the shape of the cell was related to its function, similarly, the size of the cell is also related to its function. It does not depend upon the size of the organism. For example, if there is an elephant, or let's say dinosaur, it is not like they will have a big cells, and the small rat or the small organism will have a small cells. It's not like that. The nerve cells, for example, in both, be it elephant, be it rat, will have long and branch cells with similar sizes. They perform the same function, and that for the transferring of message. Transferring of message as in, for example, I'm touching a hot pan, and when I'm touching that hot pan, my cells will send the message to the brain that this is hot, and then this brain will send back the message that is hot. Put out your head, move your hand. So this works very fast. Okay. I hope you like this lecture. I hope you like this session. Thank you so much.